we have a doozy article. This just came out like this week. International Public Notice, the most important page by Anna Bon writes. Many years ago, I wrote a book. It's called Disclosure 101. You might want to pick that book up off Amazon. It's like 15, 16 bucks. The most important page in the book is page 19. It discloses, as of 1995, exactly where the United States Municipal Code, the birth certificate trust, is created. And it explains the circumstances of its creation. This is extremely rare information. A British territorial corporation doing business as the United States of America, Inc. went bankrupt in 1933. This was publicly admitted in many places, including the minutes of the Conference of Governors meeting on March 6, 1933. There's a clue. All the British territorial U.S. citizens were bankrupt as franchisees of this corporation. So as you can see, the Puerto Rican bankruptcy trustees set their individual estates aside in a sort of legal limbo. They, the members of the U.S. military and dependents, could, if they wished, claim their revisionary trust interest as Americans. The details of this are on page 19. As the U.S. military had incorrectly misidentified all of us as their dependents, we were all cast into the same limbo, and all of our states were classified as belonging to infant descendants. That means that either one, the estate of the baby who has literally died in infancy, or two, the estate of a baby whose birthright estate was waived. In our case, our birthright estates were waived by unwitting mothers when they signed the birth registration paperwork at the hospital. That allowed us to be human trafficked on paper and deprived of our birthrights as Americans. Instead, we were assigned the political status of Puerto Rican U.S. U.S. citizenship, and please note, Puerto Rico is a British Commonwealth nation. Tories, people, that's where the word British Tories came from. And none of this was lawful or legal, either one. It was not disclosed to our mothers. It was not disclosed to us when we were older. It's disclosed on page 19. I love the little input she puts here. In order to legalize the mammoth crime and fraud, they allowed the victims, if they knew about it, to assert their revisionary trust interest. That is, reclaim their birthright estate so long that they rolled it over into the United States Trust. And what is the United States Trust? Remember that the Confederation and the Federal Republic were both rendered inoperable in 1861, and all their assets were rolled up into trusts. State trusts were created at the state level, and the United States Trust or trusts were created at the federal level. From the foreign perspectives of the perpetrators of the giant con game, we are all assets of the United States Trust, and that was where our birthright estate was cashiered. We could choose to be bankrupt with them, or we could choose to return to our birthright status and roll our assets, into the United States Trust. We had to assert our that is such a hard word when you're trying to speak fast. Revisionary trust interest. That is, assert our natural political status and reject being classified as a British territorial U.S. citizens. That's on page 19 too. If you think about it, you've seen these trusts all your life. The Northern Trust, the Southern Trust, the U.S. Trust, United States Trust, the United States Trustees. The person to be notified at the same time was a head of the Internal Revenue Service. That's on page 19 too. Since then, the person to be notified are the United States Secretary of State, the United States trustees, and the Commissioner of the Internal Revenue Service, which is different than the IRS, by the way. What I didn't go on and explain was that out of the frying pan and into the fire nature of this partial remedy. Yes, you can assert your natural political birthright, but they will only allow you to claim to be a United States Federal Republic Trust chattel and still not recognize you as an actual American and not obligatory attached to the long vanished American Federal Republic. The purported remedy, leaves you in a false political status either way. Here we go. Either you are mischaracterized as if you were a bankrupt Puerto Rican U.S. citizen, or you are mischaracterized as a United States Trust chattel, and they control the United States Trust. The truth, of course, is that you were never a United States citizen, and you're never a let me rephrase this. You were never a U.S. citizen, and you were never a United States citizen of the Federal Republic either. You were naturally and factually an American born in one of the states of the Union and take your nationality from the state you were born. All of this impersonation and mischaracterization going on in international and global jurisdictions claiming to own you, own your body, and own your name and all of your assets, etc. And them claiming to be your trustees and representatives is all fraud. We're probably going to have to get to a part 2. The claim that your American government was an interim is also a form of fraud. The American government was never called into session because it was never informed of the circumstance. Our federal employees owed that due diligence to the American people, but instead they acted in breach of trust. So I can and I have claimed my inherited revisionary trust interest in the Federal Republic and the Confederation, but as presumed donor of all of my assets held in the United States Trust, I have also acted as purported trustee to dissolve the trust. The donor can require the dissolution of the United States Trust. The beneficiary can only request it. There you have it. They stole my identity and finagled to get my mother to waive my birthright estate as an American. They trafficked my stolen identity into international jurisdiction of the sea and pretended that I was a U.S. citizen or dependent of thereof. As a remedy, they allowed me to adopt a different foreign political status, that of the United States citizen, a denizen of the vanished Federal Republic. Having done that, they cashiered my assets into the United States Trust, which they control except for one thing. Via the operation, I became a donor, and a donor can always dissolve the trust. So there's logic to everything. Now you know why they are so desperately trying to disqualify me, at the same time so frantic to restore the Federal Republic. A job they can't do because they lack the standing as Americans to do it. I'm going to stop there for a second. We'll go on with the rest of this in another video, but I want to take the last minute and few seconds here. Do you realize the multitude and magnitude of this information? Hello? Now, in this article, if you go to Anna Von Reitz, you can look up, you scroll all the way down to the bottom, people, International Public Notice, the most important page. She has a link to a scanned page of that Disclosure 101. I recommend getting the book, by the way. I recommend getting the book, okay? It's $16. If you have Prime, free shipping. It is worth the read. Let's go to part 2.